fanbase, take a breath, because this one hits you right in the chest and messes with your head at the same time. Today's got news that brings relief, news that rattles you, some behind-the-scenes decisions that could flip the future of this franchise, and even a big NFL name that, if he shows up in Miami, might be the biggest trap we've seen in years. Nothing is locked in, nothing is guaranteed, and that's exactly where the drama lives. Do you really trust the folks running this team right now? You're not gonna believe what we've got today. So settle in, hit that like button, and let's roll. What happened with Achain against the Jets was one of those moments that freezes every Dolphins fan right where they stand. Miami pushing the pace, running the ball down their throat, and suddenly the guy who drives the whole ground game grabs his ribs and limps off. Watching him head to the medical tent, then straight to the locker room, was the kind of scene that feels like disaster hitting right when you're trying to gear up for the stretch run. But then comes the twist nobody saw coming. After the early scare, tests ruled out the worst, and Mike McDaniel made it clear Achain was good to go if things got desperate. That changes everything about how we look at Steelers versus Dolphins on Monday night. The real fear isn't just pain in the ribs, it's the chance of making something worse with the one dude who powers Miami's entire identity on the ground in 2025. The guy already over 1,000 rushing yards and the safety valve of an offense. That lost Tyreek Hill, McDaniel keeping him on the sideline even with medical clearance says a lot. First, he trusts the running backs behind him. Second, he's thinking bigger than just showing off against the Jets. That long-term mindset is exactly what determines whether Miami shows up ready for January. And heading into Steelers week, even if Achain is active, it feels like Miami's going to spread out the carries with Ollie Gordon too and Jalen Wright, keeping Achain protected and testing just how much this committee can handle. After the 200-yard rushing show they put on in Week 14 with Achain on a pitch count, that shifts the game plan, shifts how Pittsburgh loads the box, and opens up chances for Tua to hit more play action off all that respect the run game forces. Meanwhile, the fanbase is stuck in that weird mix of relief and anxiety. Relief because nothing's broken, anxiety because one bad shot could change the rest of the season. And while we're stressing, the truth is the O-line's recent groove and the fit of the rookies in this scheme are about to be tested even harder at a moment where every snap matters for playoff seeding and momentum. Now let's get into this second point, because it's the reason Miami has something huge in Achain and why the whole offense jumps a level with him on the field. Before he got hurt against the Jets, he was in the middle of another one of those games where the defense starts second-guessing everything they do in the box. He had 105 yards from scrimmage on just 8 touches, a touchdown, and a near 30-yard burst that ended with that rib shot. That's not luck, and it's not a hot streak. He hit 5 straight games with at least 100 scrimmage yards. The kind of run that puts his name in real NFL star territory, not just important piece in McDaniel's system. That kind of production creates a domino effect on everything Miami does. When a running back threatens 100 yards every week, defenses have to respect every inside zone, outside zone, and every single motion that throws them off their reads. That opens play action, makes Tua's life easier, takes pressure off the O-line, and even softens the blow of missing Tyreek Hill because defenses can't just sell out to stop the deep shots. And that's why this rib injury, even without a fracture, becomes such a big deal. It's not just losing a player, it's risking the disruption of an engine running at full precision. At the same time, the way the team responded after he left says a lot about where this roster is headed. Ollie Gordon too and Jalen Wright didn't come in just to keep the seat warm. They took responsibility, kept the tempo high, and closed the Jets out with touchdowns after Achain exited. Wright especially popped with more than 100 rushing yards on 24 carries, showing he's not just a burner, he can handle volume, contact, and keep Miami's ground game aggressive without number 28. That sends a message around the league. Even if teams try to knock Achain out of rhythm, Miami's plan doesn't collapse for the season. That combo is pure gold. If Achain heals up and stays on this dominant streak, while Gordon and Wright keep developing and acting as insurance, Miami doesn't just have an elite back, they have a flexible committee that lets McDaniel manage snaps, protect his most explosive player, and vary the game plan every week. That's where the fanbase lives right now. On one side, pumped to finally have a ground game that forces respect. On the other, holding their breath every time Achain gets up slow. But hold on, because what's next isn't about the field. It's about politics, power, and a massive name that some folks want in Miami, even though it could be the exact mistake that derails everything. So buckle in, because now we're walking straight into the political storm that always hovers around this team. The kind where one front office call can waste years of progress or open a window Dolphins fans have been waiting on forever. There's a lot of talk about the future, about backup plans, about potential changes if the end of the season doesn't go the way ownership wants. And right in the middle of all that, there's a heavyweight name with rings, credibility, and league-wide respect, but who might also be the exact trap a desperate franchise falls into thinking. They pulled off something brilliant. Mike Tomlin is that name, the big label, the ready-made answer, the polished resume sitting on the shelf. A coach with over 60% career winning percentage, playoff appearances, and years of respect from players in that Pittsburgh locker room. But when you peel back the legend and look at the last decade, the story shifts. His last playoff win was in 2016. Since then, it's been early exits, competitive but stale seasons, and a whole lot of January disappointment. In a league defined by what you've done lately, handing over Miami's future to someone who hasn't won a big postseason game in almost a decade is risky at best, and the issues go deeper than the field. In Pittsburgh, Tomlin has massive control over personnel, with final say on draft picks, trades, and cuts, and recent years have shown a string of questionable decisions, especially at quarterback, where the post-Roethlisberger era turned into pure chaos. Multiple attempts, few hits, added moves like trading George Pickens to Dallas, where he's blowing up for nearly 1,200 yards, while Pittsburgh keeps searching for an offensive identity. That mix of total power and mediocre results should set off alarms in Miami. Now picture all that landing in South Florida, with Stephen Ross always chasing the flashy hire. It's easy to imagine him falling for the idea of bringing in a name brand coach, thinking he's winning the offseason by landing Tomlin. But Miami's context is totally different. The Dolphins have a modern, creative offense built on speed, motion, and layered threats. Dropping in a coach with a conservative philosophy and a track record of not reinventing his offense could be a massive step backward. That's trading innovation for nostalgia. And there's baggage. Back in 2007, when Miami almost hired Tomlin, the whole the hip-hop mess basically showed exactly the kind of perception he dealt with in this organization. Then years later, he welcomed Brian Flores in Pittsburgh after everything that went down with Ross. A guy with that history, those memories, and that awareness of the franchise's past doesn't exactly view Miami as a clean slate. And if, somehow, he ended up coming here, chances are he'd want what he had in Pittsburgh. Total control. Final word. The GM taking a step back, that's where the fan base has to be firm. Miami can't get hypnotized by a big name living more off reputation than recent results. This team needs someone aligned with its offensive identity. Someone who can keep growing what's already been built instead of dragging it back 10 years. If the head coach seat shakes, Ross has to avoid the Tomlin temptation. There are better fits out there for what Miami needs next, and fans have every right to demand that loud and clear. No more shortcuts disguised as genius. After all that, one thing is obvious. This team is standing at a massive crossroads, but also staring at its best chance in years to finally break the January curse. A healthy Achain, a running back committee that's clicking, and a front office that doesn't fall for the wrong big name could turn Miami into a playoff machine. Do you trust Ross to make the right call, or are you bracing for another historic mistake? Drop it in the comments, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and share this with another long-suffering Dolphins fan.